Welcome to Motivation Monday. We are about to move into a new month, and I'm feeling really inspired to share about spring and how this is a time of the year that is really this time of action, right? Forward action. We've spent the last winter months, we've got a few more weeks here in the winter, hibernating and getting clear and going inward and understanding what our priorities are and what our needs are. A lot of us have had those New Year's resolutions, and the intention, the vision for yourself may start to become more clear as we start to approach the springtime. This is this time where there's that sign of new life. Those intentions are now beginning to bud. So the winter is really about hibernation and slowing down and starting to have that place of self-inquiry so that you're clear on what it is that you're aligning with. And then it's like, how do we hold ourselves in taking action? How do we allow ourselves to embrace discipline as well as having that one residual step at a time? Not from a place of force, not from a place of all the needs and the shoulds and the haves and the ways that we put pressures and expectations on ourselves, but from a way of really showing up from a place of devotion and a deeper commitment to our why. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. I had a lot of fun making these slides. I could have just kept going and going and going. And I'm definitely feeling inspired to turn this into a master class because there's just so much there when we talk about living a life of devotion. How do we also embrace contentment for the journey? Because things unfold and take shape in the way that they get to, not the way that we expect it to. And how do we stay motivated and focused during those times of action, and very much can be fast, rapid change at this time of the year, right? So if you're feeling yourself coming out of the cave, ready to be open for engagement and to take action, you're right on time with the calendar. So we're going to do a little bit of grounding before we get into today's presentation, and then we will do some journaling and just embodying what's being offered here today. I think it's really important that, yes, we could take things in on the level of the mind, and it's like, what do we do with that? How do we really feel what's in resonance and true for ourselves and our own journey? And it's about getting into the body. That's how we can start to be more led from that place of wisdom. So we're just going to orient. Maybe we close our eyes. Maybe the eyes are open, whatever feels best. And just exhale. Arrive here. Fully come to this session free of all the distractions. Just letting the mind settle. Breathing in through your nose and breathing out your nose. Notice the temperature of your breath as you inhale. Notice the quality of your breath as you exhale. Become aware of where your body makes contact with the chair or the floor. Even notice the direction that the head's facing. Maybe noticing the distance between your head and the ceiling, just sensing it. And just really breathing into the space of the present moment. Notice the support that's beneath you, whether it's the chair or the floor or wherever else you are in the room right now. Just really notice what's beneath you. Is it a carpet? Is it a chair? Is it a beanbag? Is it a couch? Hardwood floor? Are your feet making contact with the earth? Or are you sitting in a crisscross position, sit bones and lower body on the earth? And just really start to sense where you are in space in this moment. Maybe even noticing the body posture, or the shoulders tight. Do the muscles feel open and expanded? Maybe even observing what it feels like to notice the body. Maybe give it a little hello, acknowledging any tension or any ease. And as you come into acknowledging yourself, maybe you notice a shift. What happens in the body? Is this letting go of a muscle or a thought? Just taking a moment to orient fully into this moment, calling the power of your presence in each breath here and now. And take a moment to connect to your heart. Maybe notice those things that you have been working on, those projects, those goals of yours. See them at your heart. No labels, no judgments. Just see those things that you have been putting intention towards. Where has your heart been focusing? And just notice the goal. See the vision of what it is that you're working on. And just acknowledge any progress along the way. Offer some kindness and some compassion for where you are right now in the journey. And begin to notice if there is an area that you're willing to commit to. Maybe going deeper into this project, this goal of yours. Just laying another layer of foundation on this project, this manifestation. And just noticing, what ways can I stretch myself just 1% more with bringing in some support? What will ultimately encourage deeper layers of support? Maybe you already have a system like a calendar or a reminder. Maybe you have an accountability partner. But notice what you would need to continue to be provided for in this situation. What is it that you're creating? How can you open up to the flow of what wants to spring forward? Even more, bringing more awareness. And just notice it. And just let your heart know, I'm willing to continue to build. I'm willing to stay present with laying this foundation of my goals. Now see your future self. Notice that why. Take a moment to sense your future self, aligning with that version of you. And then noticing where you are in relationship with your future self. Do you feel that you're doing your best to show up as that version of yourself, full alignment and integrity? Or where can you offer some more support, some more integrity? Just notice, no labels, no judgments. And then just thank all of yourself, your inner child for dreaming, your present self for taking an active role in today, and your future self for inspiring you. And just take one more breath, coming all the way back into the here and now. So you slowly open your eyes. Take a look around. Come out into the room. See how there are so many ways that you can support yourself in hands distance. Maybe noticing the pen that supports you in declaring your goals or writing it into a planner. Maybe you notice a whiteboard or some other way that you visually keep track of what it is that you're calling in, what it is that you're organizing. Maybe you see Post-it notes. And then coming all the way back and into the present moment. And in the chat, Share what's one project that you're working on? What is that project that you're working on? Is there a certain goal or something that you're manifesting at this time? Planting a vegetable garden for the first time. How fun. Thank you for sharing. Right, so I'm going to pull up today's presentation. Can you see the screen? Awesome. So in a few weeks, we are going to be entering the spring equinox. So this time of the year is very much honored as the new year, specifically in the Celtic calendar, but you will see a lot on the medicine wheel that the springtime is this time of new life emerging. You may even notice that some animals are coming out of hibernation. You may feel the days starting to grow warmer and lighter. And you may even start to see nature start to come to life. So this is this time of resurrection. So there may be things that are still coming to an end. So honoring that cycle of life so that what wants to emerge can emerge. So this is a time of action and devotion and ultimately exercising contentment for where you are in the journey, especially when it comes to the progress of our goals. It's a residual, slow change. Sustainable change happens over time. So habits to thrive with more ease and having that loving awareness for yourself is going to support you in being able to move forward consistently. So some of the things that can support is creating organized rituals. So getting up in the morning, having a ritual for yourself. Is that doing some breath work, a meditation, placing your feet out on the earth, going somewhere out in nature? It is enjoying your coffee or your tea in a quiet space, somewhere nestled in your home that feels really cozy and supportive to you. Is it making it to your favorite class, such as a movement class or any other thing that speaks to you creatively? Right? So what way can you organize more ritual in your life? Is it lighting an incense? Is it bringing some sage into the space? Is it taking those morning supplements with a fresh cup of glass of water? So identify what are those daily staples for you that really tend to your mind, body, and spirit so that we can and that we can really feel alive in what it is that we're putting our attention towards. So when we bring more ritual, we bring more play, we bring more creativity, we're not bringing this denser energy of all these needs, shoulds, and haves. We get to enjoy whatever sparks your heartfelt expression. So rituals is going to be very unique to the individual. Is it singing? Is it dancing? Is it playing a certain type of music, maybe when doing some creative writing or doing some work on the back end behind the scenes? I know I like to play a lot of like Beethoven or Mozart or sound bowl music when I'm doing more structure things on the back end, right? Just that little thing that just like brings in this softer ambiance into the space. This is how we can bring our heart and our intention into everything that we're doing. And it just doesn't become this automatic living life on repeat habitual life. It's good to have habits. It's good to be disciplined. And it's like, how do we bring the fun and the creativity into that so life isn't mundane? So knowing those systems that support you is so important, right? We can have great intention, but if we don't know what the systems are that are ultimately going to hold us to that higher level of integrity, we're going to be feeling like we're grasping for a lot and that we can't contain it, right? We can't really hold water. So we need to understand what helps us flow so that we can adapt and adjust accordingly. Healthy boundaries. I feel like healthy boundaries and systems are going to go hand in hand together. It's going to allow you to learn how to adapt and flow while also holding yourself accountable. So these are going to be some of the topics that we're going to talk on today, right? Embodying a place of presence. What does that mean, right? Becoming really aware and so in tune with your emotions, right? That you are becoming more mindful of what you're focusing on. Are you focusing on what is working or are you focusing on what isn't working? Are you focusing on trying to make something go to the way that you expect it to go, or are you allowing yourself to stay open to another way forward? So when we have goals, when we're planning for our future self, it is about really taking an active role in the present moment so that we can create from a place of intention and ultimately really realize that through a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset, through growth mindset comes freedom. And this requires us to truly listen to what our yeses and nos are along the way. So this is what we're going to be diving into today. We're going to be hitting quite a bit of topics. So these notes will be available on the login portal for you if you want to go look back at them. What does the season of spring represent? So in the medicine wheel, it represents a time of renewal, growth, and new beginnings. It's the season when life emerges from the dormancy of winter, and we can begin to reflect on the cycle of birth, life, death, and rebirth. So maybe there has been some things that have came to light around, yeah, I really am ready to shed this. What do I get to do to be willing to really show up in my most authentic self with this? How can I do my personal best from a place of surrendering to what no longer deserves a time and a season in my life? And it doesn't need to come from a place of being hard on ourselves or feeling a victim to it. There's some empowerment that can come there when we consciously choose to let things go. We're ultimately also consciously choosing to let something new in. So this is a time of new beginnings, shaking things up, letting things be different. And when we let things be different, it can feel uncomfortable, right? The ego is going to cling to what's familiar because that's what feels safe. But the way that we remember and access our true essence, our safety, is our birthright, is from doing things that are uncomfortable, that stretch our growth, which leads to resilience, to where moving through these inevitable cycles, there may not be as much resistance because you've cultivated the trust in time that things always come full circle. Everything has its season and reason. So really allow yourself to go into this season with a fresh perspective around what it is that you're working towards. So if there has been something that you've been trying to do and you just feel like you're trying to fit that puzzle piece in there and it's still not working, what can you do to just step back so that you can create clarity and you can come from a place of action? So when we take the time to step back and go into the void and allow place for introspection and contemplation, inspiration is typically not too far behind. And there's a new outcome, a new way of moving forward that can present itself to you. And a lot of times it's right under our nose. But if we're always trying to figure everything out at the level of the mind, we may block our ability to also listen to what the body is leading us towards, those signs and synchronicities. Can we work with our intuition? Can we trust the signs? Can we work with the synchronicities? Can we allow ourselves to be carried by our manifestations? So when it comes to taking action, it's so important that there's this dance and balance between action and non-action so that we can maintain our energy and ultimately we're truly present in what we're stepping into and what we're stepping away from. This is where our power is in our present moment. Now, systems that support you. These are going to be so unique to the individual. We're going to take a little bit of time to identify what our learning style is because ultimately that's going to be the system that's going to most speak to you and what you get to put into place. I can only share from my own experience and what has worked for me or what I have observed work for others. But at the end of the day, you hold the answers to what you seek and you know what you need. Somewhere deep down inside, you know what you need. Only you can take that step forward. It's nice to have an ally and have support along the way, but at the end of the day, it's you that's bridging your new lived experiences. So plan what feels authentic to you. In a world where everyone's trying to be like everybody else, embrace being different and allow what works for you to work for you. Don't make it right or wrong. It just is what it is. It's your system. So by identifying your learning style, there's 3 major learning styles. There's audio, visual, and kinesthetic. So audio is going to be someone who is more through hearing, podcast, audiobooks, maybe setting timers. Visual is someone who needs to see it, to have it projected out. And then kinesthetic is more of a hands-on experience. We'll dive a little bit more into those in a little bit. Boundaries, so unique to everybody's needs. Boundaries are the glue that keep things together, and boundaries are ultimately the guideline of what you're choosing to be disciplined to. So when you have healthy boundaries, you're going to find that there's this deeper devotion to what it is that you're being disciplined to, so that discipline can have this like, I'm choosing myself for XYZ, instead of feeling like I have to do this, otherwise I'm right or wrong. Discipline gets to be a commitment that we're devoting ourselves to. That's when our heart can start to lead us forward. And whenever our heart is the one that's in the driver's seat, no matter what way it takes shape, we can genuinely look at ourselves and say, I'm doing my best. That's all that matters, is if you're doing your personal best, right? And that comes from intention. And how do we get clear on our intention? We notice the dialogue. We notice the ways that our thoughts and our habits and our behaviors reflect true to what model we're calling in. So if our boundaries and our discipline isn't modeling the behavior that it gets to take to embody that version of yourself that you're calling in, well, then we get to identify, am I showing up from a place of reason? Am I showing up from a place of excuses? Am I living in love? Am I living in fear? Just observing. It doesn't need to be a way of judging yourself or being harsh on yourself. What we notice, right, we can then start to redirect the attention, and energy can start to flow in a new momentum. So this is where the grace and the compassion and the patience comes in, because we all have a different process, which means we all arrive at the place that we're meant to arrive at different times in different ways. And can we be okay with that? And you may have to try some systems on and see what works and what doesn't work. And if you find that you're someone's like, I've tried it all and I just don't know what, none of it works. It's like, can you just go all in on one thing? Can you just commit to one thing and not need instant gratification to be the determining factor on whether you like something or not? Because sometimes it's that instant gratification that can take us away from being able to implement something skillfully, because to do something skillfully, it takes time, it takes practice, it takes consistency. So remaining disciplined from a place of devotion leads to freedom. Discipline is freedom. Discipline is something that you're choosing to put into place. So if this is something that you're choosing to be disciplined to, isn't it ultimately going to be the bridge that's going to bring forth what you're creating? So you really get to align your actions with your deepest passions and desires. And then this is how that outer world becomes a reflection of your inner world. And then you start to realize, when you show up from a place of devotion, you show up from a place of discipline, you show up from a place of really letting your heart drive you forward, you begin to realize that no matter what experience is going on in life, you have a way of holding yourself. You have a way of being able to allow your future self to be fully present. So a lot of the times we think that when we're doing these things now, that we're creating it for our future self. We know where we're going for our future self, but the only place that we hold power is ourself is here and now. So we don't have to wait for the results of that future self to be that version of ourself. That's how we become the version of our future self. It's not by waiting to say I'm enough or I'm worthy and deserving, when you feel that you've already arrived at that the expected vision in your head of who that future self is. You get to show up as that version of yourself today, and then you realize that your dreams are not outside of you. Your dreams are within you. So this is where the thoughts and the actions will create beliefs about self. So really notice the role that you play when it comes to your intentions. If you feel yourself on this trying and trying and trying roundabout, where are you making it too difficult? Where is your own energy and your own way that you're writing the script keeping you from that very thing that you know is possible for you? So you really get to get honest and vulnerable around how we take charge and lead ourselves. How do we hold radical responsibility for our energy? The power of ritual. Ritual anchors us into the present moment, and it allows us to fully embody that path of self-responsibility. Ritual provides a space for us to witness our growth and release what no longer serves and realign with our true self. Rituals are sacred practices that breathe life into our intentions. So rituals are a great way to bring joy into the mundane, right? We get to celebrate every single moment. We get to celebrate and have that attitude of gratitude around what is life teaching me? What is life revealing to me? And it's through feeling it to the fullest, right? Acknowledging what feels alive for you, right? We can't experience the fullness of feeling good and joyful and excited without at times also feeling that spectrum of feeling hurt, sad, fearful, or disappointed. So it's like, what are those moments of life offering us? And how can we hold ourselves in a different capacity through that process so that we don't need to do it all alone? We can connect to the divine. We can connect to God, source, creator, whatever it is for you, right? We can connect through the power of prayer. We can connect through the power of ceremony so that we can consciously allow what is ready to rest so that we have the energy and the space to welcome in something new. And rituals are a great way to work with emptying out and calling in, as well as crafting and creating. I enjoy writing poetry. I feel like so much moves when I write poetry. For others, it may be painting. It could be the ritual of having your morning walk and feeling the sun charging all the cells in your body. It could be the ritual of making your breakfast in just pure silence and bliss and being fully present with what you're making with your meal and each bite that you take. Right? So really bringing that presence into the day ultimately is what's going to keep us fueled to move forward, right? Being spiritually rich in our journeys, such an important part. All of it, we're this divine union and bliss. So how do you access those states of bliss? How do you access those states of remembering the truth of who you are? Is it going on a yoga mat? Is it having that breathwork practice? So coming back to the learning style. So I want you to take a moment to consider, what is your learning style? Visual learners do great with color coding, maps, having different planners. There's a lot of different apps out there. So how do you organize your thoughts and your plans? How do you structure your day? How do you structure your week, your month, and ultimately your year? And when you keep doing that, you keep sculpting the journey of who you are along the way. So whatever systems you put in place today may serve for this season, and then maybe another season of life, something else wants to open up for you. So how do you put your goals down somewhere that is visible and tangible for you so that you know what you get to work towards? Audio learners, they benefit from doing lectures, recordings, podcasts. Maybe it's having a conversation with someone and bringing some perspective forward, and maybe engaging and asking others, right, for what their discussion is back off of what you're sharing, right? So maybe joining like a book club or getting involved with others. It's also really helpful that if you have a plan or a goal, you can start to audio yourself and then set reminders from your phone or from an Alexa. But what do you do that can help reinforce those goals? Right? Maybe it's setting a voice note of a very clear why. Why am I committing to doing what I'm committing to doing? I'm noticing it being, a little bit interesting. We'll call it interesting instead of calling it challenging. I'm noticing something interesting happening here. What can you do to give yourself those words of affirmation? And then you can play that audio back to you. Ah, yes. Come back to my why. If we don't have a clear why, it's not going to be as easeful in showing up for the journey, because it's going to have moments of being hard. It's going to have moments of being super easy. But knowing our why can bring more of that ease and like, okay, I'm willing to put in the mindful grit for this. Kinesthetic learners do really good with hands-on experiences. So incorporating movement, doing some role playing, right? Letting there be some type of physical representation for your goal and your task. So this could look like a vision board. This could look like taking the time to write in your journal every morning what 3 things are that you would like to work towards today. Not 8 things, We can have all 8 things in our calendar, but how effectively can we really do how many things a day? So we get to be practical and realistic at the same time. It might also be helpful to write things down on your mirror and put inspiring affirmations around the house or reminders, right? Something that gets you hands-on with the experience. So writing is extremely supportive. So what learning style do you feel you fall under? And then once you know what your learning style is, make a commitment to start to structure your goals around that way. Maybe it is having that daily reminder at the first hour of your morning, you drink a certain amount of ounces of water. So you have a reminder that goes off for that. And then you create the ceremony and the ritual around that cup of water. Feeling the temperature of it, speaking some intention into it. Notice how the water is hydrating you and ultimately moving you forward, right? Keeping you nourished, right? So you can bring the joy for the little things into the little things. So little things that add up, right? If we're not drinking enough water, we may be feeling more sleepy and groggy if we're dehydrated. We may experience some inflammation or more joint pain, right? If we're not hydrated, or migraines, right? So something as simple as water can have such a profound effect when we drink it with intention. Showing up with healthy boundaries. This is how we build new beliefs about ourselves. When we can start to respect our boundaries and assert ourselves with our boundaries, we're unstoppable because it's the glue that holds us together so that we can honor our intuition, we can trust our gut instincts, and we can know what we need along the way to be supported in doing so. Right? So boundaries are a bit more of that like masculine yang like quality, like we're going to take the action and this is what's going to bring forth the transformation. But we've also got to deeply listen to what those boundaries are so that we know what we need to be supported, so that our energy is protected. We're clear in our sense of self-presence. We can stay true to what our intentions are for ourselves. So boundaries allow you to be bold. Boundaries allow you to be free, and they allow you to honor your values and your needs. So what are boundaries? Boundaries are the limits and the set of rules that we give for ourselves in relationships and activities. They define what we will or will not accept, and they help us maintain a sense of personal integrity and responsibility. So we can see how boundaries are pretty important. They help us protect our energy and prevent us from burnout, right? If we don't have a balance between our yeses and our nos, either we're overgiving to others and then we don't have the capacity to give to ourselves and what we want and need. Or, right, if we're always doing, or not taking that time to be in connection with others, we can also feel a burnout if we're not really showing up for all parts of our mind, body, and soul. Boundaries help you increase self-respect and confidence, right? When you know what a clear boundary is, you can say no, not feeling bad. You can say no, free from feeling guilty. You can say no without it coming from a place of scarcity. Right? So yes and no's are empowering, and it ultimately will support you in having healthier relationships. But the boundaries get to start with you. How do you respect yourself? Because how we respect ourselves is ultimately how we're going to be able to respect others. Boundaries help you prioritize your needs, and it also promotes a sense of emotional and mental well-being. When we're showing up and our needs are being met, we're going to feel more emotionally secure and sound. We're not going to be as in our head, and we're going to be more hands-on in our body and really taking action from a tangible place. So boundaries are what allow things to come into tangible form. It's what supports you in the actualization process. Boundaries are good. They're healthy. They're empowering. And they require discipline. They require a sense of devotion. To say, I'm willing to get up again and again and again if it serves my highest good. So let's just take a moment to just check in. Let's do a little journal prompt here. right? And maybe noticing we get to be a little bit hands-on with this experience, right? Bringing in these different learning styles. So how does the spring speak to you? Are you feeling that something new is emerging? Are you feeling this fresh wind and call to action? What's going on for you right now? And maybe this is the first time you've even taken into consideration how we are all connected to the seasons. All of life is connected to this cosmic rhythm. You hear a lot about the seasonal blues, and it's just a time of hibernation. It's a time of being still and in the void and enduring what we may not know to come, but we know what we're moving towards. It requires some surrendering. But now we're here. What's coming up for you? What's speaking to you? What's emerging for you? And then what is your learning style? Yes, taking a moment, checking in with yourself. What is my learning style? Do I retain information better through listening, through being hands-on? And then what seeds am I tending to this season? You definitely can have more than one learning style. And there may be certain learning styles that work best for other things. Like when it comes to any type of school and coursework, I need to have something where I'm also being hands-on with the material. But then when I'm doing more of like a personal practice around like movement or like sound work, audio is something that's really good for me when it's more around my self-care stuff. So maybe even noticing, right? What systems support me for what circumstances? And then what is my relationship like with boundaries? One poor, again, no judgment here, 10 strong. Anytime that we position ourselves in a way to notice where we are in relationship to anything in life, it's an opportunity to, if we choose to, we can reposition ourselves at any time. So if there is an area that you would like to deepen into boundaries, right? Maybe it's consistently putting things in a calendar and time blocking things out. So if there is something that you keep feeling like, oh, I keep slipping beneath the crack, I can never get to that one thing. Is it rooted somewhere? Is it in a calendar? Is it on a Post-it note where you maybe see it when you walk out the house? Post-it notes work really good for some people. For me, my jam is a Google Calendar and I color code it. And like you can put anything on a Post-it note or on a calendar on a whiteboard. It could be as something as we may think it's silly to putting our laundry away or packing, right? When we take vacations, we don't need a pack in fight or flight mode. How do we prepare? How do we nest for what's to come so that we can enjoy the process of what we're doing? It doesn't always mean that it's going to be all rainbows and sunshine, but in time, when we start to develop a system, we can begin to enjoy the process. I'm sure plenty of people are packing the morning of before a flight. I personally don't feel like I like doing things in a fight or flight mode, right? So I like to give myself the time and the space, which requires some pre-planning. So acknowledge where you feel confident in your boundaries too, right? We get to take ownership on where we're also confident in what our strengths are. It's not just only observing what we would like to improve. Having a growth mindset is also about noticing what is effective for us too. because then we can continue to refine that and refine that and refine that and refine that and get more skillful every single time. So, what do you feel confident about when it comes to showing up for yourself? Is it being patient with yourself? Is it letting it be messy and know that it's all okay? Is there acceptance in the process? We get to accept the process because ultimately then we're not choosing to reject any parts along the way. So doing your personal best. When you approach your goals from a place of intention, ultimately you're showing up from a place of self-love. And when you honor your needs, you open the door to contentment. We all talk about happiness. The goal is happiness. Well, for me, the goal is contentment. Can I be okay with what is? Can I trust that no matter what my efforts are, things will blossom in time? Can I surrender and accept? Nature always blooms, yet it competes with nothing. So where do we put ourselves in that path of resistance? When we hold ourselves to a system and we honor our processes, we can begin to realize, hey, I gave it my best. I put my best foot and intention forward. Can that be enough? So that we're not always waiting for this future version of ourselves to celebrate the present moment. The present moment is the greatest gift. We're not guaranteed any other moment after this moment. So how can we embrace the present more? How can we practice contentment, which is one of the limbs of yoga? Right? This is where true inner peace and bliss resides, that we don't need the external to define how we think and feel about the world within and around us. So it all starts from within. And if you can look at yourself at the end of the day, inner critic in the back seat, and really taking a look into your heart and say, did I give it my best? And if you can vulnerably and authentically say what you get to say from that place, that's all that matters. And getting vulnerable and authentic and having that integrity is good too. So if you're like, no, like I could have done X, Y, Z, right? This is an opportunity for you to shift and say, hey, I'm willing to meet myself there. And being able to be honest with yourself, I would say, is still doing your personal best to not avoid or to not hide from things. So sometimes this question might prompt of like, what do I get to take responsibility for in the role that I play? And there's power in that. So we also get to be practical and realistic with our goals and our intentions and our timelines and our expectations and all of the things, right? The boundaries, the discipline. There's an art there around saying yes and no. Yes and no is a powerful tool where your words become your wands. And they also will allow you to start to align with your choices from a place of depth and a place of value in what it is that you're giving birth to. So yes and no ultimately allow you to align with the outcomes and the standard of what you're holding yourself to. So you're worthy of that yes, you're worthy of that no. When we say yes, it opens us up to new opportunities. It opens us up to growth. It opens us up to moving towards that path of expansion from our heart, right? And when we say no, it's equally as empowering. It allows us to put boundaries into place. It allows us to preserve our energy. It prevents us from overextending so that we don't show up from a place of distraction. So no's allows us to have that anchor so that we don't dilute our ability to do what we're choosing to do. But we get to be flexible with our yeses and our nos because life also is spontaneous and synchronicity wants to work. And if it feels authentic, we can check in with ourselves and our yeses and our nos can adjust from the situation to the circumstances. Muscle testing is extremely helpful. If you're someone who has a difficult time saying yes and no, muscle testing can be very supportive in really being able to listen to what your body is leading you towards. So sometimes we really, really want to say yes, right? And that yes in the mind, but then there's that part of where we want and don't want something but our body really wants to say no. Can we honor that? Can we not override our body with our mind? Because when we can start to be led from our body is the bridge to whatever reality it is that you're desiring to experience to its fullest potential. So in honoring our reasons, right, we get to be really clear in the driving force behind our intentions. When we can start to honor our reasons, when we can start to know our why, we can begin to focus on what truly matters. And this is where we start to bridge a new reality. This is where we begin to timeline shift. This is where whatever it is that we're experiencing starts to take shape and aligns with our authentic path. So honoring your reasons, honoring yourself, honoring your needs, prioritizing yourself, your core values. This is where there's that devotion that comes in, right? This deeper commitment to choose your self-love. And when you love yourself fully, you fall in love with life. You fall in love with the life that you built. And then there can be that contentment in trusting in your process, in witnessing your power and your potential for things to come full circle again and again and again. So that when it's hard, you don't run away from your reasons. When it's scary, you don't hide from your reasons. Can your reasons fuel the fire to keep going, to keep showing up, to not need to be a perfect person, but to be an authentic person? The pathway of contentment. Santosha is one of the 8 limbs of yoga. It falls under the niyamas, which is the observances. It teaches us to find joy and peace in the present moment. This is also an opportunity to observe through the attitude of gratitude. We don't need the external to validate and approve of why we're choosing to do what we're choosing. Can we approve of ourselves enough to just embrace the journey of life? This is where trust happens. This is where you get to witness that life is always working for you, and that victim mindset can take a rest, right? It can take a seat in the back seat. It's not about never having these parts of ourselves come up, because everything that our mind and our body does has the intention of keeping us safe. But are we willing to let go of the need for perfection? Are we willing to let go of the need for safety outside of ourselves? Or can we embrace the growth that comes with curiosity and the remembering that safety is your natural essence along the way, right? So when we can start to be content, ultimately we begin to tone our nervous system and we start to prime our body to be more in tune and receptive to what really gets to be expressed and experienced in life. Can we trust that no matter what we're experiencing, whatever is coming up, this is what we get to grow through to ultimately continue to evolve and expand our consciousness? So what we need to grow, these are the things that we really get to experience. Having this physical body, being able to express pleasure here and now is one of our greatest gifts. This is what we came into this vessel to do, to move our bodies. So many different ways of movement. To meditate, so important to embodying presence and calming the nervous system so that we can be more regulated and we can hear the way that the body and the mind and the mind and the body are working together. Nourishing food. Our food is our fuel. Food is the fastest way to raise your vibration. Emotional intimacy. You hear a lot of right, coming into self, meeting of self, loving of self, accepting of self, surrendering. Cultivating that emotional capacity to be fully here with the present moment requires intimacy and vulnerability. Creative expression. As I shared, poetry, right? Poetry is that thing that allows me to activate something and to, get inspired on what feels most alive. And it also allows me to move through what is shedding and what would like to be buried, what would like to be honored. So creativity is so important to letting our inner child stay alive and continue to dream bigger and bigger and bigger. And when we create, this is when divine inspiration can also come in. Spending time with our family, our friends, and our communities. We thrive amongst others. We grow with others when we put ourselves in the right environments. Certain environments, we get to have those boundaries and know what we need and what we get to say yes and no to, more so when it comes around family, right? So we also get to honor what those boundaries are. Someone's very toxic. We don't owe anybody anything, a family or a friend. We can remove ourselves from that situation. And sometimes it's like, can we just accept people for people? Can we just let them play out their own role that they have with their own life, whether they're a negative Nancy or not? Like, we don't need to take that on. We can have that boundary with ourselves. If I don't need to take on and feel their emotions, I don't need to take on their story. I can witness them in it, but I don't need to get involved with it. So this is what I mean around like knowing the difference between who's actually really toxic for you and like where you just get to have more clear boundaries established within yourself of what you're willing to take on or not take on. So if you're finding yourself being one of those like more saviors in all your relationships, the ask is, what boundaries can you put in place so that you don't need to take on other people's concerns? We can care for them, but we don't have to carry it for them. We can hold them, but they're the only one that's going to move that mountain in their life. Just like you're the one sculpting your own mountain and iceberg in your own life. Stillness and rest are so important. It's not about just doing, and then there's no stillness and rest. This is where we heal. This is where we repair. This is where we get inspired. This is where we can stay present and connected, and we can embrace the sweet joys of being able to feel all the feelings, because that's a gift to be able to feel all the feelings. Whether you want to feel certain feelings or not, that's on you, but it is a gift to be able to feel all those feelings because there's an intelligence there for you. And playing. We get to play. We get to be a big kid all the time. We need this to keep growing. We need curiosity. We need that wanderlust spirit. That's what brings us into different spaces and places that we couldn't even imagine being possible. So stillness and play are such important aspects to allowing things to be what they are. Not needing to over suffocate situations to keep forcing and putting in more and more effort. There's a difference between putting in effort and trying to force something to happen. Nature holds so much wisdom. Everything blooms in its own time, and you are a piece of nature. You are a masterpiece. You are a beautiful work of art. So embrace that. Embrace that stage of where you're budding, where you're fully blossoming, where things are starting, when things are ending, right? Think about the sunrise. Think about the sunset. Think about noticing when a branch falls down, right? What is it that gets to fall away for new life to grow? What roots get to take deeper? What foundation, what roots really hold you and ground you and guide you? So we can look around in nature and we can see that everything is working together for the greatest good of all of life. That tornado, that tsunami, that really uncomfortable moment of life that just shook everything up and stripped you of everything is a prime opportunity for something completely new to emerge, a new foundation to take root. Right? So sometimes things need to destruct for something new to take material form. And can we honor that? The tree doesn't resist the tornado, it just happens. Right? And then life moves on. They adapt, the animals figure it out. So we too can adapt and we can figure it out. We can be more solution focused versus conflict focused when it comes to implementation of our goals. This is where the self-inquiry and the compassion gets to come in again and again and again, and you get to exercise that muscle at your heart. So where in your life would you benefit from more contentment and trust in the process? Is it just not needing to control the timing? Where in your life can you benefit from more contentment and trust in the process? Is it getting out of the head and just choosing to write stories from your heart instead? Is it releasing the fear and the worry So take a moment to reflect on these questions. How can you cultivate a growth mindset and surrender to the natural unfolding? What are some things that can support you in surrendering? Is it control? Is it always needing to think your way through everything and have this excess use of mind and overanalyzing and getting too caught up in the logical thing to do? So how can we invite some curiosity in around these questions here? What can support in cultivating a growth mindset? Meditation supports me again and again and again, right? Stepping away from it, stepping back. Because when I step back, then I can begin to allow the intelligence of life force energy to continue to move me in the moving forward process of co-creating. Remember to celebrate your progress along the way. Setbacks are just moments for growth and opportunity. Setbacks are not failure. It's an opportunity for redirection. It's an opportunity for a path that we couldn't even imagine to unfold and present itself to us. So celebrate each step. Celebrate your opportunities to step in. Celebrate your opportunities to step back. Celebrate yourself for showing up in that yes and that no. Allow yourself to be inspired. It requires perseverance, devotion, discipline, right? We get to really tap into our resilience, to our inner strength, to witness the truth that we're stronger than we think. Progress over perfection. If you can say, yeah, there's progress, awesome, awesome. And sometimes it's not the progress that we are wanting or hoping for, but it's our progress. Things don't always look the way that we plan it to. The divine has plans for us at times that we couldn't even imagine. So can we trust that just me showing up today is enough? Right? If you have the goal of, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week, and you make it 2 or 3 and you're starting from 0, awesome. That's progress. Right? So residual steps is what leads to a new path over time. So choose your reasons and come back to your why. Visualization, so helpful to have the clarity and the confidence and where you're choosing to go. And then through taking an active role, you can say, I'm making yeses and nos from this place that feed that version of myself today. And that is something that I get to celebrate. That is something that I get to experience joy for, is to really show up wholeheartedly. So lasting change happens with residual action. Progress happens when we're consistent. It takes way more inertia to just start and stop, start and stop, start and stop. So find your process so things can stream and flow. And let's not overcomplicate it. Let's keep it simple, right? Be persistent in your efforts while also being flexible and adapting, right? Know when you're putting the pressure on yourself and you're showing up from force. Where can you maybe sit down with yourself and access more intuition and more creativity so that you can pay attention to the way that life really does want to carry you so that you don't have to do it all on your own, right? The healing journey, you hear a lot about, it's a lonely path. It doesn't need to be. You can make friends with the tree, and the tree can give you some of the best wisdom out there on the redirection that gets to be put into place. So pay attention to the signs. Work with the synchronicities of life. This is where creativity and logic can truly come together to bridge whatever your heaven on earth is, whatever that full potential of your experience is. So understand the subtle communication that's happening within yourself, cleaning up your inner oasis. This is how we really get to build a new world, is through prioritizing our path of self-discovery. Pursue your goals, prioritize your well-being. Do what it is that nurtures your growth. Know that you're the greatest masterpiece that you're ever going to work on. So whatever intentions you have, plant those seeds and keep tending to it and watering it again and again and again with that love. with that courage it takes to be bold, to show up, to take the risks. And then ultimately you witness the reward that comes with that. So prioritize yourself so that you can sustain your energy and you can come from a full cup and that you can live in this reciprocity with life so that you don't give your yeses and your nos in a way where there's guilt or there's resentment, right? You have the choice to choose, and what you're not changing on some level, you are choosing. So it is such a gift that we get to prioritize ourselves. And there's so much wisdom in stillness. If we're not prioritizing stillness, it is going to be almost damn near impossible to receive the messages back to your prayers and to your intentions. We really get to hold our energy in a way to where we're still so that we can focus on what is here and what is now, so that we're not in the past, we're not 3 steps ahead, and that we're really taking the time to consciously connect with our inner wisdom, grounding ourselves. Such a powerful way for clarity and inspiration. And what would you say your relationship is like with stillness? Some people, it's extremely uncomfortable to be still. That's when all the thoughts start to creep in. That's where the intrusive thoughts can start to pop up. Can you be with them? Can you not make them right or wrong? You become more aware of maybe different sensations and discomfort in the body. Can you not fight it or resist it? Because when we always need to be busy, we're distracting ourselves from something. And when we get still, it's an opportunity to confront whatever it is with loving awareness, not needing to try to fix it or change it. But in the stillness, we create space for acknowledgement and acceptance, love and compassion. So what is your relationship like with stillness? Is it hard? Is it easy? You're like, I absolutely despise it. Or can you just embrace those moments of just, I can be with this. So we're going to do a brief grounding exercise. So let's just close our eyes and let's just notice what it's like to be still. Maybe you notice your breath. Do you feel calm? Do you feel like there's a lot of chatter or overwhelm? And just start to track any patterns here. Do you feel like you need to keep wiggling? Does a reoccurring thought want to keep coming up? Or can you come into that place of your center? Can you come into this place of surrender? Which can even look like allowing whatever's coming up to just come up, to not make a story about it. And we're going to stay in a 1-minute silent sit. So silent meditations is some advanced stuff here. And just notice how it feels to be fully still and with yourself for 1 minute. Take 3 more breaths. And open your eyes. Come back out. And just notice, how did it feel to be still and with yourself? Right? Taking this in on a body-based level. Did an itch want to come up? Did a thought keep wanting to pass by? And were you able to just observe, be with it. So I know we're a little bit over, but we are at those last final few slides. So if anybody does have to hop off, I totally respect and honor where we are in time together today. All right, exhale. Leading with embodied wisdom. Getting still is how we do that. Getting present is how we do that. This is where we can unlock our ability to make choices that resonate at a deep level of authenticity and truth. When we can show up from a place of our personal truth, nobody, nothing outside of us could sway us away from something that's like, I know from that place of inner knowing. Right? Because people can only hold us at the ability of what they can hold true for themselves. So the most powerful source of wisdom is to discover what your truth is. This is where, when we come from this place of attunement, whatever direction presents itself to us is a way that we are being positioned and primed for our intention. Our path is going to look like our path. Our journey is going to be unique to our soul's expression. So we really get to follow the power of our being. So we get to be. We don't get to figure out how do we do that. We get to be with ourselves in that. And then letting life unfold, letting that star of your heart, that true north, be that compass in your life that takes you home on your soul's quest. Everything in nature has its rhythm, and we too also have our rhythm. So know that our intentions are always blooming and budding and then dying off, and then something new and the refinement and the next layer of expansion. And it's like, how can we hold that attunement to what our inner season is so that we can show up from a place of self-love and not holding on to what was, and we can start to allow ourselves to embody the presence of what can be when we take the action that is in commitment to our growth. So yes, we can achieve this goal. We can get to that mile marker. And then what? Do we hold on to that forever? What if we feel something new wants to emerge? What if there's a deeper layer that wants to start to present itself? Are we willing to allow ourselves to adjust to how the journey takes shape? Because nothing is permanent. The only things that are permanent in our life are the things that we say that they are. And it's not to say that doing a painting class or putting yourself in a dancing class, that the season comes, the 3 months ends, the 1 year ends, and you feel very fulfilled and in the joy of that commitment. And you're feeling a little dull and maybe curious and have a genuine interest around another style of movement that would like to be expressed. Can you allow yourself to just be in the becoming process? So take responsibility for yourself. Take responsibility for the way that your dreams take root. Nature reminds us that everything blooms in its perfect timing. It doesn't force its process. So align with your own inner rhythm, and ultimately you'll witness the unfolding of your intentions. Only thing that we have control over is ourself. So if we find ourselves trying to control the external, what can we do to bring it back to self? Where can we have that personal power of what we're choosing and deciding? And that requires some integration. That requires taking the time to ask yourself those questions. So this month, we have some soul work, and we're going to align our week, our day, and our month to this season of life. Is there another way that it would like to express itself? Is there a way that it has taken root, and how can you even fertilize the soil another step deeper? So this is your opportunity to use a calendar and to really honor what method supports your learning style. So if you need alarms or audios or whiteboards, right? What is it that works for you? Post-it notes, giving yourself little voice notes that you play back to yourself. So get really clear in why you're planning what you're planning for your future self. So I want you to envision your future self in present time. How do you get to plan for that version of you? So that you're not waiting to live that version of you, and that you can fully embody the journey of who that person already is. And so align with your actions that serve your why. So write down, what is my why? So it's not just I'm logically time blocking these things and I'm allowing myself to start to be disciplined and committed to this. Why? Bring the ritual to it. Bring the ceremony to it. So write a clear mission statement and allow that to be something that you can repeat to yourself every single day. Whether you read it, whether you state it out loud, whether you record it and you play it back to yourself, whether you write it down on a bathroom mirror or a whiteboard. But this is where we get to bring the fun into the creative process. Let it be a ritual. I am devoting myself to this commitment from a place of deep joy and integrity. I'm bringing the fun to what I'm choosing to be disciplined to, because I have the power and the potential to feed my joy. Why does this spark my interest? What gets ignited in my life when I plan for this version of myself? What is going to transform in becoming this version of myself? But then we get to know what systems support you along the way so that you can be held and provided for in the process. So you don't need to do it all on your own and keep it all in your head and just letting it be all everywhere. Give it a home. Let it know, I see you, I acknowledge you. These are the things that bring value to my life. And this is how this is going to hold me through my process. So this month is about springing into action. Boundaries are going to stretch you. Discipline is going to stretch you. Allow yourself to be stretched. This is where we expand. This is where we soar to new heights. And the springtime is here to remind us of that life too buds, life emerges on time. So allow yourself to flower and blossom. I'm going to open it up for some Q&A here. I look forward to those catching this on the replay. Please feel free to share. We would love to receive you in your mission statements, as well as any reflections or questions you may have. It has been such a joy to share with you all today. Those of you who are catching the replay, I honor where you are in time and space. Please feel free to share your comments and allow yourself to be witness in those declarations. This month is all about paving that foundation around what prioritizes and ignites your sense of well-being. You deserve to thrive. You deserve to achieve all that you dare to touch. If you let your heart be a part of the process, it all always works out. The heart is the guide to bridging new worlds, and you deserve to live your heart's highest timeline. Thank you so much. Until next week.